Okay, now we're good. Welcome, Joanne. Nice to see you. Okay, now you can take it away, Natalie. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for joining me, everyone. I know this is a kind of like perhaps a niche type of topic, but I will say, just from the vantage point of ear training, period, it's very universal. As long as you're a musician, you got to have good ear training. So I'm really excited to present this and to be here with you all. The purpose, oop, can I get my thing going? There we go. Yes, the purpose is to highlight one of the fundamental techniques that create a phenomenal choral experience, which is good musicianship, and that stems from good ear training. I also, through this presentation, want to offer a culturally relevant approach to strengthening our choir's musicality through the inclusion of aural based music traditions. And later on in the slides, I'm going to explain, well, I can even explain it right now. Aural, AURAL, stems from hearing and listening skills versus ORAL, which stands from speaking and singing skills. So you'll see that throughout my presentation a few times, just slash there, and I will just say aural based, and hopefully you'll be able to follow along with me. I believe you've probably all read the description of this presentation, so I won't belabor it too long. Just want to highlight the point that one of the best skills in the 21st century musician can have, and by musician I mean vocalist and instrumentalist, is they can glean from the techniques of gospel music performance practice. And that's just from what I've experienced in directing choirs, whether it's classically based or aural skills based. Like, I've never experienced a musical situation where vocalists haven't gleaned from the ear training experience and benefits that they've had from singing gospel music, or just using some of the techniques as exercises. So I believe this can be achieved through strategic ear training exercises that are rooted in the performance practice of gospel music. More specifically, the performance of gospel choir music. And so it's my hope to offer some gospel music approaches to ear training that students and educators and choral conductors can source in order to diversify aural skill development and overall musicianship. The proposed outcomes for this session, the first, to diversify approaches to ear training and techniques. So I hope this session helps you to consider diversifying your approaches to ear training by including performance practices inspired by aural-based music traditions. And it doesn't have to be just gospel music. It can be any type of aural-based music tradition. The second outcome is to increase rhythmic and harmonic improvisation. So most of us know that rhythm is the backbone of musicality. So I'd love to explore through this presentation how we can level that up. Harmony is one of the best enhancements to melodies. It's not the only, but one of the best, I find. And that's why I love choirs. And so I'm hoping that we can consider ideas around how to further develop that through this presentation. And I have like a little clause here that the improvisation aspect has to do with creating and adding variations and inviting vocalists to be less fearful when stepping into the unknown. And finally, strengthening musical intuition. That's a term that I've never heard anyone use, and I just kind of came up with it based on when I've tried to explain the definition of musicianship to musical artists and to students and to choristers. It's the innate sense of just knowing what to do and how to flow or create musically by trusting your musical instincts. That means you have to have something to pull from, something to draw from internally that has been developed through drilling and practicing and workshopping, right? So musical intuition, that is one of the things that I feel gospel music performance practices help you develop and realize. If we were in person, the questions I would love to ask, and maybe we'll have a chance to talk this through a little later, but the questions I would love to ask is, what made you interested in taking this session? And what ear training issues do you encounter with your choir? What ear training techniques do you already do with your choir? What concept of aural skills do you want to develop most with your vocalists? What does good ear training result in? What do you as a conductor define, or as a chorister, define as good ear training? Do you feel like you have good ear training? And also, I'm curious to know what musical skills do you admire about gospel choirs, if you do? And so, without diving too much into that, like if we were in person, I'd want to make it so much more interactive. But since we're online like this, these are the kinds of questions I try to allow to inform how I'm doing this presentation today. So I hope you'll bear with me because I love being interactive with people I work with, and so just talking to myself, well, to you, this beautiful screen is different and it's irritating. So I get to hear myself. What qualifies me? Well, in a nutshell, I like to say I'm classically trained, but I'm gospel bred. So I was around aural music traditions just by osmosis. You know, you get born into a musical family that plays gospel music, sings gospel music, listens to gospel music, and so you don't really have a choice but to do gospel music. and so I didn't realize that my ears were being exposed to harmonies and rhythms and levels of complexity in that. I didn't realize that till I started studying music. I started classical piano lessons at the age of 6, started playing by ear by the age of 10, playing for church choirs, playing in church. My mom was a youth choir director, so I started accompanying her choir, and then over time, she would ask me to teach parts. So I'd have to teach soprano, alto, and tenor. I'd have to track it out. At first, before having the language of Western notation to map out the harmonies that I was hearing, I would just do everything by memory. But that muscle was already developed just by being surrounded by gospel music my whole life. So I love both aspects of gospel and classical because I feel like even though I can trust my musical instincts when it comes to gospel music training, classical music training gave me the language around what I was able to do by ear or innately. So I'm very, very grateful for that upbringing and that my parents invested in me to send me to school. I have 2 degrees, a bachelor's degree in music, a master's degree in ethnomusicology with a research focus in gospel music, and it was through my graduate studies that I was able to discover my love for teaching. There's more of a backstory around teaching, but discover my love for teaching aural skills specifically and ear training. It doesn't matter what instrument an artist or a music creative uses, you need to be able to identify pitch, identify rhythm, chords and scales and progressions and all the things. So I really love that aspect of being able to impact students by pulling from my gospel music performance practices. I would do workshops with choirs and get asked to do clinics and train different community choirs. And so I didn't realize it, but I was developing a muscle in terms of developing curricula and training around this area. And so the passion for it just kept growing and growing. I became a director a music director at my former church that I grew up in, and then took a staff position at a larger church and was directing choirs, music coordinating, and then I started teaching at Centennial College, which is in Toronto, Humber College, which is in Toronto. I'm from Toronto, and York University Gospel Choir. I currently am the course director for that choir since 2023, and I also have a teaching assistantship with the gospel choir at U of T, University of Toronto, sorry. And I just in the fall I joined forces with my mentor and friend, Professor Karen Burke, who is the director of the Juno Award-winning Toronto Mass Choir. So I'm an assistant conductor with the Toronto Mass Choir. And I also decided to go back to school as if that's not enough. And so I'm studying, doing some postgraduate studies in music education. But I want to make a point here because this is all tied into what we're doing here today with this presentation. So the studies that I'm working on has to do with affecting change in music education policies, where it's moving towards a more equitable aural skills and ear training through the inclusion of aural-based music performance practices. So I'm really, really passionate about using Afrocentric and Eurocentric techniques and ear training pedagogies to develop the overall musician. And then finally, I'm also working on developing an online music program to help vocalists and instrumentalists develop their ear training. So enough about me, my goodness. Ear training and what research says about it. I want to talk about this because I do believe it's important to just understand ear training as a whole. And just from research, a lot of articles and books that I've read, they advocate the fact that there needs to be more emphasis put in ear training when it comes to music education, because we tend to lean really heavily on musical notation and musical literacy. Now, I'm all for musical literacy. I believe it's important to be bilingual. And so musical literacy, yes, it's important, but if you can't identify by ear certain theoretical concepts, then there's like a discrepancy there. So I'm so for choristers and singers and instrumentalists, musicians as a whole, having a sense of strength in both entities. The term oral skills and ear training are interchangeable and are typically broken down into multiple components. You can see I put on the screen here, it's the most popular components are pitch recognition and intervals and scales and so on. These oral skill components are what define one's musicianship, and that's considered a category of evaluation which most musicians kind of get assessed on when it comes to the Royal Conservatory of Music. Scholars have argued that music education often focuses more on westernized approaches in pedagogy, and it leans heavily on musical literacy and not enough on oral skills development, and research has also revealed the benefits around ear training through qualitative and quantitative studies relating to music cognition, resulting in psychometric findings that the development of oral skills such as playing or singing by ear has a high correlation to musical sophistication, so it's necessary. However, most scholars do not suggest any specific strategies towards improving oral skills, implying that the Western art approach to ear training is sufficient. And I find that it's not. I really do believe that we can have both. When it comes to ways in which ear training is taught, researchers have explored strategies on how to improve the diversity approach. When it comes to ways in which ear training is taught, researchers have explored strategies on how to improve and diversify approaches to learning oral skills. And they have commonly looked at popular music. This approach is complementary to the implementation of culturally relevant pedagogy. A researcher by the name of Gloria Ladson-Billings, she coined that phrase, culturally relevant. And it just means, in this context, providing ear training in a way that our choristers can use and see immediate application. So whether it's cultural / societal relevance, we want our singers to be able to not just have isolated techniques where it's like, okay, I'm just drilling these techniques or these skills in an isolated context, but not in a relevant context where I can apply it immediately. There are scholars who suggest that the logic of sourcing cultures that regularly practice oral-based music traditions for methods in ear training. It doesn't make sense to me to avoid including oral-based music traditions and their techniques in oral skills development. I mean, the word is in both sides, right? So it's like, why not use that, and why only focus on one way of developing the ear? So researchers offer that we should include non-Western techniques and logically consider the musical techniques of oral/oral-based music traditions for oral skill development. And in our case, we're looking at some of the oral music traditions in gospel music. And you can see at the bottom of the screen, I hope you're able to see at the bottom of the screen. Oh, I can scroll, amen. The definition that I have there, where both terms can represent rote learning when it comes to non-notated music learning. Hope you can see that all right. I'm just going to wisp through this quote here. Some conservatories' allocation of limited time or attention or marks even towards oral skills is often, not always, but often reflective of Eurocentric ideals, that the mere rehearsing of performance in notated works in Western art music with the aim of realizing the composer's intent is considered high art. And then consequently, as a result, music practices and traditions that rely on rote learning implies illiteracy. And so then anything associated with such forms of learning or performance practice is often by default and subconsciously categorized as low art. So it might not be the intent of categorizing rote learning and oral-based music traditions as low art, but it just kind of happens by default. So what we fail to realize is that when we neglect the development of oral skills, it limits the musicality of our vocalists and anyone under our tutelage who can potentially achieve their own musical capacities and expand their own musical capacities, because we haven't challenged or taught them how to grow that muscle, that ear training muscle. Multiple approaches to musical pedagogies, namely Eurocentric and Afrocentric, have been proven necessary and beneficial for overall musicianship and to help equip any musician, vocalists and instrumentalists alike, for the most fulfilled and versatile experience in their performance and evolution as an artist. And yeah, so that doesn't, yeah, I'll leave that alone. So my goal with this is that it's about strategic ear training. So the combination of Eurocentric and Afrocentric ear training techniques, I believe it culminates in good musicianship and strategic ear training. Very intentional, which in this context is the use of culturally relevant pedagogy by incorporating oral-based music performance practices by way of gospel music. This even allows, I believe, for choirs to be creative in adding their own signature sound when covering someone else's arrangement of a song, or even just evolving their own original arrangement of a song. And choristers are not bound merely to what's on the pages of repertoire, but they have the musical, I'm so passionate about this, they have the musical aptitude achieved through strategic ear training to perform with musical alertness, confidence, and they can self-correct when it comes to rhythm, pitch, tone, timbre, projection, and more. Not to mention meet the requests of the conductor if the conductor is asking them to do a little something out of the box that they may not have practiced specifically, but they have the skills, the fundamental skills to pull from the experience in rehearsal, and they can kind of recall by tonal and rhythmic memory and so much more the skill to be able to like execute whatever the director is suggesting. So I have some videos later on, and I'm hoping to be able to get some. I'm gonna shut up to kind of like give examples of what that might look like or what that could look like. You can call it a nod towards choral improvisation, but that's a whole other session. So I'm gonna keep it moving. Why gospel ear training? Why do our choirs need this? I think it's because these gospel ear training techniques are skills derived from oral music traditions, and these skills are transferable to any musical genre of preference. It doesn't have to stick to just gospel music. You can use these ear training skills that are based on gospel music performance practice, but you can use these ear training skills in classical, in rock, in pop, in folk, in Latin music, in Asian music. Like it's transferable to any musical genre of preference, and that's what I love about it. Because no matter the genre, good oral skills / ear training techniques are necessary for any musician, vocalist or instrumentalist, and it enhances one's overall musicianship. Good ear training shows up as strong musical memory or musical recall, solid internalization of rhythm through movement, and sharp musical alertness, yielding confidence in performance. Okay, so some common gospel performance practice techniques that, so these are my approaches that I've experienced through research and just demonstration They are paired by thematic commonalities. So call and response, rhythm and syncopation, inversions and modulations, and intuition and improvisation. So these are, and there are a lot more, but I'm just kind of like trying to nutshell this. At the base of all of this, these performance practices and these techniques in gospel music performance, the practice of drilling and repetition is what is key, fundamental. It's all about repetition. It's all about drilling. And we know that any good musician, they practice, they drill, they workshop, they're constantly repeating a thing. So whether it's musical literacy or whether it's ear training, the repetition and the consistency of that repetition is paramount. And this yields, when it comes to ear training, this yields competent musicianship. Repetition builds confidence. These practices are conditional and are best demonstrated, I just want to add this clause, when a conductor has built trust with their choristers and gives clear directions and cues. So you kind of have to be a few steps ahead of your choir, at least. That sort of training might be for another session, but directing by and for rote singing is a journey for the leader as much as it is for the followers. Drilling gospel ear training techniques with your singers is also your process of development while building your singers' trust in you and confidence in themselves. So I want to first talk about call and response. Yes. It's fundamental to rote learning. It's like the most basic, like I sing, you sing. But the attention to detail is crucial. Because it'd be interesting, well, just from my experience, sometimes I'll sing a thing and that's not what I get back from my vocalist. And I'm like, are you listening? Are you paying attention? So it helps them just to focus in and try and copy, try and mimic, or you can do variation. If I give a melodic line, whether it's singing or even playing, and how would you respond with a variant of that? So I really love the basic approach of call and response. It's so simple, and yet sometimes it gets overlooked as one of the most fundamental techniques to ear training. And you can use, it doesn't have to be a specific repertoire or a specific, what I'm trying to say is you can use what you already have. So whatever repertoire you're already working on with your choristers, you can take a section of that, just a section, and sing it and have your vocalist sing it back. Sing an improvised version of it and have your choristers sing it back. And I give the how-to. It's just repetition and drilling and clapbacks, singbacks, and even playbacks. So that's if you're on an instrument. Or if I play something, can you sing it back? Like, how is your pitch recall? How's your musical memory? Rhythm and syncopation. Rhythm is the backbone of the musical language, but especially when it comes to oral music. Lyrics are even rhythmatized for added dynamics in repertoire when it comes to gospel music. Polyrhythms and syncopation they provide a level of musical sophistication to repertoire. So how to achieve this? You could do it through clapbacks. So I clap a rhythm. I teach oral skills at York University as well, and it's fascinating. Mind you, it's like the worst time of the day, worst day of the week. Monday mornings at 8:30 in the morning. These poor students, I'm asking them to be alert. So I'll clap a rhythm, and it's interesting to hear who gets it and who doesn't, and how they help each other to listen intently. So clapbacks. So I'm not talking about social media. I'm talking about like literally clapping a rhythm, and then having your vocalist clap it back, just so like without any kind of pitch. But then also there's the if I sing a melodic phrase, can they clap the rhythm that they heard, or are they distracted by the pitch? So this is again a way of developing sensitive musical alertness and top-notch ear training. Clapbacks where the singers must learn to maintain the pulse. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that. So set a time signature and see if your choristers can internalize the rhythm, internalize the backbeat, the downbeat, all the beats. Speaking a rhythm of the lyrics before singing the pitch of it. Counting exercises. These are all ways that you can help develop rhythm and syncopation through ear training, for stronger ear training for your choristers. Movement, that's a bit dicey. Not everybody can move. Not everyone can move. I had some moments with my choir with one of the choirs this past year, and I had to be like, you guys aren't listening to, like, you're ahead of the beat, behind the beat. It's like internalize. So it takes some intention, but it also takes time, right? So you want to give your choristers grace, you want to give yourself grace, but movement really does help. Now I know there's some repertoire where it's like we just don't move, but maybe in extracting a portion of the repertoire and giving a pulse and seeing if your choristers can sway on beat, that right there, gospel music performance practice. Maintain the tempo, lock in. This is what I tell my choristers and my vocalists and my students. Movement assists in the internalization, these words. Movement assists in the internalization of the downbeat and the backbeat. Clapping the rhythm of the lyrics of your repertoire before teaching the melody, I already mentioned that. And yes, okay, I'll leave that alone. I'm moving. Oops, sorry. There we go. Inversions and modulations. Okay, I love this. Okay, I have to pace myself. Forgive me, I get really excited about music. Inversions. Improves sensitivity to pitches, tonal memory, and vocal range, leading to the application of collective breath control techniques. That's a whole other session. It also can increase musical awareness for intervals and chords, which helps to create multidisciplinary listening skills. So you have to sing while listening. That can be achieved through canons, yes, or rounds. But I really, when it comes to just singing, maybe even two-part, because I give a how-to there, like a step 1 and a step 2, just to kind of give, like, if you've never sung inversions with your choir, by rote. So you teach the part, help them retain it. You teach a second part, but they have to maintain what they learned and also listen to what another section has learned, and then switch. Oh, I get so excited. Singing while listening, whether to other voices during inversions or to the instrumentation for guided modulations, right? So I'm not gonna say this is like the epitome of like great musicianship, but it's definitely like, it's a heavy hitter. This strengthens tonal memory and for self-guided modulations, absolutely. Strengthens blending, oh my goodness. Oh, I really wish I could have conversations with you to find out if that's an issue for you or not. I'm very, very curious, but I'll keep it moving. This strengthens blending and projection skills and levels of complexity when it comes to inversions, singing inversions and modulations. Levels of complexity in this can foster skills in generous listening. Ooh. Let me explain that. What do I mean by generous listening? I mean that it dismantles habits of selfish, singular listening, where you only listen for yourself, and you're only singing for you, and you're not listening to the other vocalists to learn how to blend and sing into the sound of the people around you. Oh, I'm so excited. Listen and learn for more. So generous listening is when you listen and learn for more than just your own voice, but also for more than just pitch. You have to match tone and color. I'm really excited about this. Step 1, it's on the screen. Step 2 is there. I'm gonna keep it moving because I really do wanna get to questions and whatnot. Now, obviously you're gonna make sure that when you do inversion exercises, you want to make sure that the key, especially if it's in 2 parts, you want to make sure that the key is comfortable. So low enough and high enough for your sopranos, altos, and tenors and basses. I don't know who here deals with 4-part harmony. The contemporary gospel sound is really just 3-part harmony. But there are ways to, modify how you do inversion exercises, so that you can switch parts, and then also do 3-part or 4-part, and then have everyone move up through the octave. Um, you want to split the choir in half, no matter what vocal part they sing. That's me just like reiterating the step 1 here. If you're going to have them switch between 2 parts, and so it doesn't matter what octave, as long as it's comfortable for them. So it's really just for them to get used to singing what they hear, what they heard you teach them by ear, but also listen to the other section and retain that. So their brain is doing a lot, their ears are doing a lot, but that's why it's called ear training and not ear vacation. This activity encourages alertness. Whew. I'm so passionate about alertness when it comes to musical alertness specifically, because they may not know what you'll ask them to, when you'll ask them to switch. And they must be listening to the other part while singing their own, and they got to stay ready. So this is why I get really excited about it, because I just like the potential of what this can help, the potential of the musical capacity of what this can help our choristers achieve. It's through the roof. As choristers develop this ability and become accustomed to doing it by rote, I would say that this also helps to minimize selfish singing. I already talked about generous versus selfish singing. In 3-part harmony or 4-part harmony, you can have vocalists sing a musical progression and invert up or back down a few times until they've sung each other's parts, no matter the octave. Again, you want to choose comfortable keys. So you have to be strategic. It takes some planning, but definitely worth it. Because I think sometimes we get really into, we got to get through the repertoire, and we don't have time for, or get through warm-ups and then through the repertoire. But does the warm-ups house anything for their ears, to develop their ears and their ear training? This strengthens the ability to blend and to sing into the volume and the tone. I already said that. I'm going to keep it moving. I hope I'm not going too fast. Like, let me know, Colin, if anything's an issue. Intuition.
Things are good, and feel free. There is some time at the end for questions and stuff. But if you do want to get some answers from folks, they are more than, feel free.
Okay, sounds great. And I don't know if people normally put questions in the chat or that kind of thing, but
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Intuition and improvisation. Musical alertness is a trust and readiness for the new or the unknown. So the first thing that comes to mind for me with this, or one of the popular examples, I don't know if anyone listens to Jacob Collier, but when he gets a room to sing, there is no sheet music, right? So he teaches the part completely by ear. I mean, he's using gospel performance practice or oral music tradition performance practice, right? Teach a musical idea by rote, but then you don't know what he's going to do with that musical idea, and you have to kind of just trust your ear and trust that Jacob ain't going to lead you off a cliff, a musical cliff. So you have to stay alert and stay ready. Even Bobby McFerrin, he has a video. I think it's has to do with the demonstration of, he does a demonstration about the power of the pentatonic scale. And it's just 5 notes, but you don't know where he's gonna go. And it's all just trusting your musical instincts, right? So with this skill, there's like less fear. I was gonna say fearlessness, but it's fearless. It's not a recklessness. It's just less fear and more of a confidence or a trust in exploring musical creativity and generating new ideas as a collective. I believe, and I'm passionate about this as well, this skill. It helps to disarm the master-apprentice approach and helps to invite choristers on the journey of creating. So they're not just like singing what they're told to sing, but they can come up with ideas of their own, especially if they're given the space to do so. So I suggest, how to do that. Cultivate musical awareness, musical alertness through cues and communication. Talk through your ideas with the choir. If you're going to do, okay, guys, we're going to do this exercise, and I want you to watch what I'm going to do. I might do this, and have signals that make sense to you and that will make sense and are clear to your choristers. And so this helps to build trust and a watchful eye. They got to pay attention. They don't have any sheet music in front of them. So where else are they going to look? to you. But then if you help to guide them and help to build their trust, I mean, that's a whole other session, but it comes with repetition, it comes with drilling, it comes with practice. Um, Talk through your ideas, build and watch it stems from the repetition and pre-preparing vocalists. Maybe having, I've done this a few times, having listening tracks or practice tracks of exercises or a certain repertoire so that your vocalists, like simple things, so that your vocalists can learn to anticipate anything or any modifications and not be fearful of like, I don't know what I'm supposed to sing. You do know what you're supposed to sing because you've heard the original track of this exercise, and so now I'm going back and forth between, I don't know, one tone and another or one pitch and another, and we're not going to go crazy, but we're just building that trust and building that repetition so that you can learn to watch for when I switch to another musical idea. So gospel ear training for the win. Why do our choirs need gospel music? It's just kind of like summing things up a little bit. It helps develop their skills in blending and strengthens internalization of rhythm, and it supercharges your musical memory. Whew. Okay, I'm gonna pause right here because this is my last like instructive slide because we talked about ear training in general and the importance of it no matter what genre of music is sung or taught. And then we talked about ear training from the vantage point of gospel music performance practices. So I hope I've given enough useful tips and to kind of maybe generate some ideas of what you might think could work in your contexts. But I have some examples I want to show, but before I do that, I wanted to ask whoever's listening, I'm going to show a couple of videos here, but before I do, I wanted to know from the listeners if you feel like, what are some of the issues around ear training that you experience with your choir or in your choir? So going back to the questions I was asking earlier on, since we have just a little bit of time, yes, I think we're doing okay.
Yeah, so feel free to add in the chat, or you can turn your mic on, your video on, whatever's comfortable.
Yes, please.
Let's just give it a minute. Sometimes it takes us a bit of time.
Yeah, no worries. I feel like I can finally catch my breath. So
There's lots
I
to
don't
get
mind
through.
waiting. Yeah, I was so worried I wouldn't be able to get through the bulk of the content, but I'm really curious to know what people are dealing with when it comes to ear training, or what made you decide to take this session. I'm even interested in that.
I mean, I could start. I was just kind of,
Oh,
when you said Jacob Collier, I
yeah.
thought
Oh,
like, and it made me think, like this is for that generation, like especially for
yeah.
young people, they're
Yes.
like, this is mind blowing. But when
Yes.
you say like this is based in, gospel like teaching tradition, it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
that's interesting, right? And that's so yeah, it's interesting that you brought that up. So I didn't know if you had more to say on that or anything, but
No, I appreciate you. Like, yeah, because I think, yes, you're absolutely right. When people haven't been used to that kind of exposure,
right. Yeah.
they feel like, oh my gosh, this is groundbreaking. Meanwhile, people who have been around oral music tradition were like,
Right.
I mean, the guy's good at it. No,
Yeah.
like, listen, I've been to a couple of Jacob. I love his concerts, and I follow
Yeah.
him on social media. I love the guy. I just got an honorary doctorate from Berkeley, by the way,
Oh,
and so he's doing fascinating stuff. But the technique is is not new.
no.
It's not
Yeah.
new. So yeah,
Very
it's. I'm
interesting.
glad he's making it relevant.
This is it, right? And it's
Mhm.
good. Yeah, it's good to bring that in. I do see Elise has turned on the mic. I don't know,
Yeah,
Elise,
and
if
I
you
see
wanted to
Caitlin
chime
has
in.
turned on her camera.
Hi,
Oh, hi,
yeah,
Elise.
this is Elise. I think I turned on the video, but I'm not
Yep,
sure.
we can
I'm in
see you.
the kitchen making pizza, so my
Look at
hands
that. How
weren't
lucky for
clean
you.
for a while. So it
Ah,
took me a while to get them cleaned up enough. I was curious, like I'm big on off book and ear training with my choir as well.
mhm.
and we aren't gospel focused, but we do incorporate a lot of, pop rock, jazz into the repertoire for several concerts. And I'm curious, when you work with the ear training, do you ever try to also uh, sneak in some vegetables with harmony, like even if it's just singing on numbers based, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s, or
Yep.
just to help them like build those relationships in their
Yes.
musician? How do you manage that?
Yes. Okay. So the theory part of it, and that's where, like, I think the technique of inversions, like what I was saying about inversions, having them maybe just do two parts. I'll maybe have like, no matter what the vocal range is in the room, I'll just split the room in half, and we're going to sing a 5 note scale. So if this is 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'll just do numbers. And I love numbers. I love solfege as well. Um, but I feel like numbers is a little bit more universal. And I say universal in the sense that instrumentalists as well as vocalists use numbers. I do know a few instrumentalists that don't mind solfege, but they're usually like, I don't get it. And it's fine. So I just like to stick with the numbers thing. And so if it's 1 and 2 and then 1, 2, okay, this side sing 1, hold. This side sing 1, 2, and then 3. Okay, hold the 3, sing the 1 and the 3. Okay, switch. Okay, back. Okay, 2 and 4, 3 and 5, back to 1 and 3. Oh, too scary. Okay, fine. Go back to 3 and 5. Like it's all incremental, but I do try to get them to attach their pitch to a reference point, a theoretical reference point, so that they're not just like aimlessly or blindly singing with no like it's just all whims. I feel like no. This actually can take some brain power, and when you apply the brain power, you actually strengthen your ear because it actually begins to make sense, right? Like mathematics and sciences are in music education as well, and so that kind of cognizance I think is important. But like you say, like add the vegetables, and I would maybe like puree them, puree, if that makes sense, and add it like in kind of like bite-sized approach, as opposed to, okay guys, we're going to talk about the 8 note scale, and then we're going to get into western modes, and then we're going to talk about chromatic, like whoa, like not everybody's ready for that kind of detail, but we'll start small. Notice I said we start with a 5 note scale, and if that's too much, start with a 3 note scale, and then just get their ears to get like used to, and build the confidence, build the trust, because one thing I've learned is that you can usually get a choir to do almost anything if they know that you're not going to lead them off a cliff, right? So if you kind of like start small and then build their trust, then they're like, okay, then they start to like, okay, I can do this. And it's like, yes, you absolutely can. And then I also usually say, and there are levels to this. And we will get to those levels, but a little bit at a time. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question.
Perfect. Thank you,
Yeah,
Natalie.
no problem.
We did
Caitlin,
have
I saw
something in
your.
the chat.
Oh, I'm just
Rosanna
gonna go to
said,
Caitlin
"Oh,
because
yes, please."
Caitlin had their camera. Yeah,
Ah,
hi
yes.
Caitlin.
Hi,
And
can
the
Ah.
you hear us?
Yes, we
yes.
can.
Um, yeah, I was thinking I wasn't going to jump into this session because I don't usually take on very much gospel music. And I
Yeah.
was like, no, I hated ear training in school, so I better make myself do this. And so I'm really glad that I came because I do solfege with my choirs, and I've done a lot of like the scale degree, like
Yeah.
1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, all of those
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
And I try to do rounds. Um, what I found actually is I took a break, like a 4 year break, during COVID.
Mm.
And then I came back to teaching last year. And what I found with especially kids is they can't do rounds anymore
Mm.
or partner songs or anything.
Yeah.
They get really confused. They're better at harmony than they are at singing like polyphony, um,
Yeah.
which like even row, row, row your boat. We
Mm.
struggled to have that in two-part round
Okay.
um, all year round, all year. And it's like,
Okay.
yeah. So it's like wondering if these like inversions and things I've never heard of inversions before. So
Oh, okay.
appreciate the
Yeah,
explanation.
for sure.
But would that kind of lead into being able to do like a basic round or a canon?
That's the hope. That's the because
Yeah.
you're developing when they have to sing and listen. Like, and it's
Mhm.
normal for people if you're not used to multitasking, like singing and listening, then it can feel like, whoa, it's like I can't walk and chew gum. It's too much,
Mhm.
right? Um, and so, yeah, the goal is when you sing in versions, and this is what I've done in my choir rehearsals, and I wish I had filmed more of my choir rehearsals where I was really intentional about it, where
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, sopranos, I'm gonna teach you your part, and altos, I need you to be listening because when we flip, you will be singing this too. And usually I say that, and half the class is not listening. So it's fine. I expect it, right? But what I also do is I'll get the actual. So I'm not just saying it. I'll teach the sopranos their part, get them to sing it, and then while sopranos are singing it, I get the altos to sing what the sopranos are singing. So now they're internalizing it, like because it's like you've done this before, and then I'll be like, okay, altos, I'm going to teach you your part, and tenors listen to the alto part because when we invert, you'll be taking over that part. So there's a whole like that's the whole communication aspect of musical alertness that I was mentioning, where I talk through like what I'm going to be doing. So it's not like whiplash, like what I didn't know this was coming. It's like no, no, no. I gave the instructions. Okay, so I need you to like really work hard at paying attention because there's nothing in front of you to say. The middle C is going to go to E, and the E is going to go to G, right? So the hope is that with the practice of singing inversions, even if it's just done in two parts as opposed to three, is that people can develop the muscle of listening and singing at the same time and not being thrown off. Canons are not easy, and yet some people do find it because it's like, oh, we're just singing the same thing, but it's like no, but at you're entering at a different rhythmic point. So if you don't have a good sense of rhythm, chaos, you know? And it's like, but I don't know. It's like you do know. You just sing it all at the same time, all together. How are you not? It's like it's just a muscle that needs to be developed, but in little tiny scoops, you know? So hopefully doing like a short phrase of material that maybe you're already working on. And don't even do, I wouldn't even do words. I wouldn't even do, I mean, I would just keep it like as simple as like, okay, 2 bars, quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, half note. Just to the vowel ah, you know what I mean? Super basic, super simple, um, and get one room to sing on one pitch, or sorry, one half of the room to sing on one pitch, the other half to sing on another pitch, and then have them switch and see if they can just develop that muscle of listening and singing.
That
It
makes
does,
sense. Yeah.
yeah, it does take some strategy, but totally worth it because when that muscle is developed, yeah, you get another level of musicality from your choir, and they just begin to trust their musicality more for themselves. Thank you for that question. That's a great question.
Thanks.
He's gotta go. Cool.
Okay. Thanks,
How?
Caitlin. That's
Yeah.
great. So we've got two in the chat here. I'm just
Oh.
looking to see if there's anybody else. So the first one was from Rosanna, who says, "Thank
Mm.
you. It's very helpful." And I believe Rosanna's answering the question about the challenge. So Rosanna says, "My
Uh,
challenge is how to teach rhythm in gospel music."
uh, oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, it's a basic. Uh, there is so much rhythm in gospel music, and it's. I would start with clapbacks. I mentioned it a couple times in the beginning. I mentioned it in the call and response as well as in rhythm and syncopation. So what I've done sometimes is like just one bar at a time, 4/4 time, and it's just 1, 2, 3, 4. Mm, 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 mm. One, and this is call and response. Clap back. Can they maintain the pulse? If it gets chaotic, which has happened a few times in class, I will have a metronome on mic or a speaker so that everybody can hear what the pulse is. And don't go too fast too soon. You know, you can keep the pulse steady, but I think clapping a rhythm and then maybe even adding simple pitch or vowels to it, like yeah, I wouldn't do numbers or scale degrees. I think I would just do like ah la 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 la, and as they're clapping. And then if there's a song, whether it's a pop song, rock song, anything that has like just anything that's non-traditional, I would say. I just had an idea, but I don't know if everyone knows that song. But okay, I don't know if everyone knows the song by Pharrell, Because I'm Happy. Because I'm happy, clap along. That happiness is like that. There's so clap along if you feel like the rhythm is whoa. Now that's, I would say, a level like 9 out of 15. But if there's like a simpler type of song where it's like, or even just a section of that, and I would slow it down and I would get them just to speak the rhythm of something like that, that would be an example of how to develop rhythm from the angle of gospel music performance practice.
Yeah,
Breaking,
thank you. Yeah. I
just
got
to,
it. Yeah.
yeah,
Thanks very
okay.
much. Yeah. I mean, it's just sometimes it's just the introduction. It's like you always have a natural kind of feel, oh, that looks really complicated, you know. Come on, I do
Yeah,
in sight reading, you know, sight singing, but yeah, I first of all, I'm not really very good at gospel music, so I'm the first one to learn from it first, right? How to see how to do it with them. How can I relate better with my
yeah,
singers, right? So yeah, thank you. But I
absolutely.
think the clap back is really helpful, and yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I so appreciate the question. And just a reminder that these are gospel music performance techniques, but
Hmm.
it's so not isolated to you to be used in only gospel music.
All right.
So, and that's one of the things that I was like, oh, you know, the title might make people feel like they have to know gospel music, but I was like, I really wanted to make sure that I honed in on just the whole ear training aspect overall,
Right.
because, um, and even just from my experience and my background in classical training, it's like I
Hmm.
use classical techniques
Right.
or
Mm.
language even to inform what I do in gospel music performance.
Yes.
But the technique when it comes to ear training, particularly, yeah, you can just kind of break it down, make everything a bite-sized piece.
Okay, great. Thank you for the tips. Yeah.
Of
Thanks.
course.
Thank you.
And then we have another Zoom chat here from Anna Paula, who is going to
Oh,
be sorry, who's done a pre-recorded session for Podium. So hi, Anna Paula, nice to see you here.
hi,
I
Anna.
became interested in the session because I'd like to learn ways to do exercises that prepare students for the harmonic, intervallic, and stylistic aspects of gospel music. It's not a familiar musical universe. In Brazil, we have a very rich African musical heritage, and we are also gradually developing musical perception teaching practices that
Mm,
encompass both African and indigenous music. But the Western musical canon is still predominant.
yeah, it is. Well, yeah, I think that's a really good comment and question. I think, is it really a question? I'm
I'd
sorry.
like to learn ways to do exercises that prepare students for the
For
harmonic, intervallic, and
in gospel
stylistic
music.
aspects.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a whole other session.
Yeah.
Um, because this isn't specific to gospel music. This is just using gospel music ear training techniques. So I think to marry the two ideas still, because I think it's a fantastic question. Um, I would say probably the same answer that I gave to Roseanne. Is it Roseanne? I'm sorry. Yes, Rosanna. Which is what I've done at times is I've scaled back a musical idea. And oh boy, I scaled back a musical idea of a song, a gospel song. If I feel like, okay, this is a whole salad bar of like, there's a lot going on rhythmically, harmonically, all the things. I don't want to overload students and make them feel like, okay, guys, good luck. And so what I'll do is I'll take a section of the song and maybe cut that section in like the musical idea, half of the musical idea, and make that musical idea the warm up. There's a song I did that with called Let Everything That Hath Breath. And it was arranged by a gospel music composer. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Clark sisters, but one of the Clark sisters is the one who composed this piece and arranged this piece for a university gospel choir in Florida years ago. I really wanted to do the piece because there's no, like, each section of the song, I think it's like an A, B, and C, maybe even a D. So it's not ABA, it's not straightforward. So it would really mean students got to watch. And I'll play just a little clip if I'm allowed. I think it's 3 o'clock already, and I don't want to keep anybody, but I don't know, Colin, do I have just a few minutes?
We've got we can do an extra 5.
Okay,
I just have a session to run to, so I'm going to have to wrap it up. But yeah, why don't we do an extra 5?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, I think I had a lot of a lot of different clips, but I'm much happier interacting with you guys and answering your questions. So I'll just show this one piece, and it's not even the whole piece, it's just a portion of it. And it was a way for me to actually get our listeners to see if they could identify what aspects of gospel music performance practice is being developed. What I did, there's this melismatic, but it's done in harmony, section of the song. And I was like, this is gonna be like, for pitch accuracy, oh gosh, it's gonna take some work. And so I made it a warm up, and I made it a warm up that we could modulate with. And I'm really proud of the vocalists. We had a concert in April. And so this section is from that. And in April, they nailed it, but then also had to watch me for the ending. And so I'm hoping, Anna, that helps to answer the question. When a gospel, if you're specifically looking at gospel repertoire, if it seems like overly complicated, take maybe one aspect of it. Maybe it's the rhythmic aspect. Maybe it's the intervallic aspect. Maybe it's the harmonic aspect, and turn that into the warm-up for the rehearsal, which means like some extra planning, yes, but turn it into the warm-up and then build on that. This week is probably just the interval part, and then next week we'll work on the rhythm part, but it's a different warm-up, but it's something that they can workshop and then incorporate into the actual piece itself, because they'll be performing the repertoire. I hope that makes sense, Anna. I don't know. I can't see. I don't know in the chat. But I'm going to play this, and just the last part of it, I think. Will this work? Okay, I'm just gonna pause real quick. Can everybody hear? I hope everyone can hear.
Yep, it's clear on my end. Yep.
Okay, cool. So you can hear the like that whole melismatic part. part and done in harmony, it was tricky to get, but I turned it into a warm up, and we did it in like several different keys so that they can lock into that and be alert and not have to, and hopefully, and it became second nature, I'm hoping, for them. Now in this part, I'm gonna just let it play for like 1 more minute. Because we did a reprise, and we practiced reprise in class, but on stage, it's not always the same as what's done in class. So I even start without the band. Some excited students there. Whoa, I stopped sharing. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Oh, give me a second. Hold on. So, yes, I wanted to show that. Oh, I didn't get to show my references.
We can do that.
I'm so sorry.
Don't be.
How?
We can do another quick share.
Thanks for your patience, Colin.
Of course.
Is it this? Here we go. And then like this. There we go. And then like this. And all the way through. Right. So there were a couple of other concerts, but these are my references based on the research that I was quoting. And then that's the end. But I'll just leave this up in case anyone wants to look into.
I do want to mention to Natalie and to the others in the room, remember that Natalie has actually sent these slides over. So I'm going to be adding this to the session right after this in the app. So if you're on the app, you click Natalie's session and scroll down to the bottom and you'll see it there. So give it about 10 minutes to make sure it's there. But if, and you know, contact information and all that. Natalie, I don't think your profile is fully updated. So if you want to go in and put your email and such, maybe you could put that in.
Okay, I didn't know that.
People have
Yes,
an
thank you.
opportunity to connect with you.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Lovely.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So I hope that made sense. I hope I answered Anna's question, and it made sense in a way that you can actually like apply it and find it helpful. But yeah,
Well,
I love
Natalie,
what I
we
do, and
thank
I'm
you
really grateful
so
to be here.
much. It's
Thank
clear
you.
the passion that you have. Thank you so much for bringing something that can sometimes be I guess the word is a pedantic kind of topic, but bringing it into a way that, you know, is relevant, not just, like you said, it's not just gospel music, right?
Right,
So
right.
we thank you for that. We've got lots of thank yous in the chat. Anna Paula did say thank you
Thank
for your
you.
response, so that's lovely.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Folks who are in the virtual delegates, just a reminder, we're going to be hanging out at 4:30 Pacific time just to do a little fun social thing. Please feel free to join us. And other than that, that's going to be the wrap up for today, and then we get into tomorrow's session. So thank you, everybody. It's been lovely seeing you and chatting with you, and we'll see you at 4:30 Pacific. Thanks, Natalie. Big thank you to you.
Thanks,
Okay,
guys.
have a good day, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye.